Go news topics first. So, like I said, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And this is, of course, coming from the Real GM Wiretap. This is, of course, coming from the Cleveland Plain Dealer from Chris Ford. And this is, of course, Cavaliers intend to keep their core four together. We can talk a lot about the speculations, the news and rumors about Darius Garland getting traded. I know that that was kind of floating in the air a little bit. But this is what the article goes on to say. The Cleveland Cavaliers plan to keep their core four of Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and Jarrett Allen together. Allen was the subject of trade rumors in June. I would also add Darius Garland was also from just the grapevine stuff that I've been hearing, more so just like the hoops hypes and the real GMs. I know a lot of people were having those two guys, especially Allen and Garland, being in those trade rumors. Altman said, I intend that to be the case. When asked recently during a Zoom call if these four players will remain together during the 23-24 season, I never make a promise in case were to miraculously happen, but all four know how important they are to this, and there's no conversations have had happened. Outside of teams calling to do their job, no conversations have happened substantially that we envision breaking up this core. It's a core that won 51 games last year and really has a lot more runway left. I think that they're going to continue to get better. Of course, we talked about the Darius Garland trade, and Altman also said that that was the craziest rumor you've ever heard in your life. Altman said, we drafted him, we raised him to be an all-star. He's under contract for 5 more years. He loves it here. Like we said, the Cavaliers are retooling. They got Max Strus from the Heat, and they got Niang, I
For
believe, from the
way too much money for Max Strus, by the way. But still, solid signing. Just a ton of money.
Yeah. Which allows them to feel better about keeping their core unchanged. And then we obviously talked about Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. We know Evan Mobley's untouchable at this point. But let's kind of get right into it, Pete. I know that was kind of a lot of a nothing sandwich in some instance, but what do you think about the Cavaliers intending to keep their core four? Are you for changing it up, or do you think that their core four should stay together?
This one's kind of a mixed bag. I think it's way too early to switch it up, first of all. I mean, they were ahead of schedule last year. I mean, I think I was, one of the people highest on them going into last season. I told you I thought they could, very well should have had a chance to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but, my beloved Knicks got in the way. That being said, honestly, wait, can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just making sure my internet didn't just go out. I think we're good. Yeah, that being said, you do have to question, like, if the fit is here for this squad, right? Like, because I think that was a big question even in the midst of last season. I think we saw exactly the problem in the Knicks series with this team. It's that they don't really have a very good balance with this team. Both of their bigs can't shoot yet, right? I don't see it in the future for Jarrett Allen. I do, as you know, absolutely adore Evan Mobley. Think he's one of the brightest stars potentially in the future of the NBA. I do think, I think his shot looks nice. I don't think it's one of those things where it's just a hopeless endeavor to hope he's eventually able to shoot some spot up threes, stuff like that. Kind of like, I would say worst case scenario, maybe he gets that Brook Lopez game just a little, maybe not a little, hopefully a lot earlier than Brook Lopez got it. That, spot up three, but he's inside on defense. But the other question is this, I think this is funny, and I'm not just necessarily throwing this out here because I am directly, my team is involved in this, but I do think this team is seeing the detriment of Donovan Mitchell trade. And I'm not saying trading for Donovan Mitchell was a mistake for them. My point is more that him and Garland are not necessarily the fit you'd hope they'd be. They're both smaller guards. They're both not necessarily the best defenders. And they both would rather have the ball in their hand, right? So when you have both of these guys, both with, obviously they're both all-stars, but future all-NBAs, more all-star games in the future for both of them.
Right.
It is a question because you don't have bigs who can shoot and you have two guards who always want the ball. That's a pretty bad mix, but it's not like it's impossible to get it where you need it to be with these guys. And that's why I think it's too soon to break it up. It's 51 games. Evan Mobley was in his second season. Donovan Mitchell had just gotten traded there. And honestly, Darius Garland is still young. Jared Allen is still young. And most importantly of all, I think the biggest thing for this team, they do not have a small forward. They don't have a three on this team who's even remotely competent in playoff games. And I
Yeah.
shouldn't say remotely because Cedi Osman is, he could be that potentially in 10, 15 minutes in playoff games, but they don't have a guy that's, going out there and giving you 32 in a
Mhm.
playoff game at the three. That's such a hole for this team. And they really did nothing to address it last season. So far, in my opinion, they've had a pretty bad offseason. That's just my estimation. And I'm not, you know me, Bernie. I'm super high on these guys. I want them to
Yeah.
succeed. That being said, it's been bad. I honestly don't understand how you can give Max Strus that much money after of all the Miami Heat guys, he was the one that disappeared the most for them in their playoff run, in my opinion. And even more importantly, how are you going to extend Karis LeVert? I'm sorry. He's garbage, Bernie. He's maybe not garbage, but on a winning team, not the type of guy you want to have running big minutes for you. Cuz inevitably he's going to take shots he shouldn't take. That's the type of guy he is. He's like maybe just a slightly bigger D'Angelo Russell. That's not the guy I want on the squad. And they re-signed him, I think, for 3 years, like 38 million or something like that. That's off the top
Mhm.
of my head. I can't say for sure. And you got like Okoro hasn't really shown a ton of development. I just think they need to, instead of worrying about their four guys, even talking about it, stop talking about it. They're all good. Go get somebody to run with them and give you some more defense. Beyond
Yeah.
that, I don't think Kobe Altman should be doing much talking. Just go actually get guys that fit spots you need because I haven't seen it from them this offseason. What do you think, Bernie?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's nonsense to already start talking about, breaking up this core four. Because again, like you said, this is the second year. Because I can't remember who got hurt the year before. I think was it Garland that got hurt.
It was Garland. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was out the
Garland.
whole, well, most of the season, I think.
Yeah, he got hurt, and that we talked about them having like I think last year. I think they're a little bit behind schedule just because of that Darius Garland injury, in my opinion. But I think that now they're kind of back on track, and I think that now we're going to start seeing who these Cavaliers really are. I think by adding the likes of whether or not Max Strus disappeared, he still performed pretty well. He's going to be a decent player for them. I think that according to ESPN, they have him as the starting small forward.
That's
That could
that's
that could
unbelievable, though.
potentially change. Who knows if Amani Bates will pop off. We know that Amani Bates has kind of been he's been balling out in the summer league, but I do think that he does chuck up a lot of shots. So that's
Yeah,
that's
he's.
something
I
that
mean,
we need to
he's not
monitor.
playing this first season. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think he probably needs a lot more TLC. But I do think that in terms of this core four, like I don't think there's any reason to break it up. Let
Yeah,
another year pass, let it marinate, and see what's happening, man. Because I think that this team, um, kind of ran into a buzzsaw of the New York Knicks. I think you have to give credit to the Knicks in that playoff series more so than the Cavaliers' debauchery. I think it's more so that the Knicks had a great game plan. um, you had Julius Randle do his thing, and I think to me like
mm,
that is more indicative of how good the Knicks were last year, and kind of ball turned up in the last month of the season, rather than the Cavaliers choking it. And so
yeah. See, I don't know, Bernie. Even as a Knicks fan, I think I have to disagree with you. And I'm
you
not
th-
trying to take anything away from my boys. I honestly think Cleveland choked the hell out of that series. The Knicks should not have beaten them, Bernie. They shouldn't have. Like under
you
no
don't think so?
circumstances, even now, under no circumstances is the Knicks roster. I should let me rephrase. Their top three guys are not as good as Cleveland's top three guys, and really in the playoffs, that's what matters. You know, like if anything, I think really what got exposed is the holes in this squad, this Cleveland squad. They don't have bigs who can shoot, so Mitchell Robinson could just lock himself into the paint and just play unbelievable defense. But even more importantly, they had no guard defense. So Jalen Brunson could just put up 45 a night on them.
Oh,
They had
hang on.
nothing. Am I
Ooh.
Dropping out?
No, you're not dropping out. I think I'm dropping out.
I think it might be your. I think it might be the stream, Bernie.
Okay. Let's see here. Not sure. I just restarted my computer too. That's lame.
If it's not,